Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel. And thank you for joining this audio live stream. This essay has been, to a large extent, anyway, inspired rather by a viewer who's reached out to me, Doobie, and so this is for Doobie, and I hope it meets your expectations and contains sufficient information to broaden your understanding of the issue. So the issue here is importing Indian IT workers. I mean, they could be from anywhere in the world, I guess, but depending on whose numbers you look at, between 70 and 80% of all so-called skilled workers, and these are mainly in IT, come from India. There's a few issues here of, are they skilled at all? Are they even needed? And what is the effect of them coming on the career possibilities of college graduates, IT, STEM college graduates coming out of Western universities and particularly the United States being the biggest player in this area. Now, the numbers go beyond the current H-1B visa workers that are in the United States, because some of those people have already transitioned into green card status and they're into other various types of medium-term work visas and things like that. So they've already transitioned out of H-1B into others. So the numbers are much bigger than the 3 or 4 million that are currently being bandied around. So it's a bit like there was 11 million illegal aliens in the United States, and that number stayed static for like 30 years, even though there were millions coming in every year. And the H-1B visas are similar. Just because those Indians have transitioned out of the H-1B visa doesn't mean that that they're still at 3 to 4 million or thereabouts. Similarly, some of them have brought over their spouses and they've procreated in the US and are trying to claim that they're now entitled to stay in the US because of the anchor baby. So there's all that sort of stuff going on as well. But coming to the material point, and particularly of Doobie's original question was, is the extent of the H-1B in the Indian, supposedly skilled IT, to what extent does it affect the career aspirations and the career possibilities? I mean, let's get practical here. The career possibilities in, for example, IT of local Western graduates, college graduates, STEM graduates. And of course, it has got a huge effect. If you look at the amount of, say, IT jobs that are, I don't mean IT as in the entry level, sweeping the floor of the coding rooms. I mean, I'm talking about actual support work and coding work. Now, we sort of tend to think that all these millions of Indians come in are all coders. They're not. A lot of them are doing just tech support and project support type work. So they're not all coding. In fact, the amount of coders that as in somebody sitting down and cutting code and creating a product, the amount of people doing that is not really that many. So the primary effect, it incorporates coding, but the primary effect is in IT support, system support, project implementation, transitioning from one technology or platform to another, and all that sort of stuff. It's that type of, if you like, IT administrative work, if I can use that as a wider umbrella term. And the effect for college graduates, and those are the bulk of the jobs. So the effect on local, say, US or any Western college graduates is huge. And when you get millions coming in, they say there's only, the claims that there's only a handful of Indians coming in here is bullshit. And a lot of these are rolled over into new projects, the Indians. And so it's not on if they're brought in for a specific project, just rolled into another project when the first project ends. Some of the projects are open-ended and seem to go forever, particularly federal and state government, overall administrative support type projects, or even the big consulting firms, Price Waterhouse, those sort of things. So let's just have a look at how this works. But is there an effect on college graduates from the US or the West generally? Of course there is. And if millions of Indians are coming in and being rolled from project to project, that's millions of jobs, as in several million, that aren't available to local STEM college graduates or even people with some experience. I know coders and project support, administrative people who can, they may not necessarily sit down and code from the ground up, but they can go through and debug a program that's got a problem in it and find it and solve the problem, that sort of thing. So still coding, I guess, in a support sense rather than cutting original code. So even those people struggle in some instances. Now, they can get jobs if they accept a job for less than money. But the view that employers have is that say it's a local American graduate, again, even some with experience, they go and get a job for less money than they really should. The gig's worth $100,000 a year, and they're having to accept the job for say 60 or something like that. Then the employer is saying, well, as soon as that guy can get a better job, he'll leave and he'll go somewhere else because he can get his $100K at some outfit down the road. But the Indian guy can't leave. He can't go anywhere. He's got to accept the $60K a year. And if I look, Jeet or Ram or whatever, I want you to come in this Sunday and do this, that, the next thing. It's very important and so on. Ram's got no choice. Jeet's got no choice. He's really got to do it. He can say, go fuck yourself. But then, he's on a plane back to India and don't want to do that. So they can extract more from these guys, not necessarily work, but just, I need you to sit in the office just in case. That sort of work. And in that sense, they can exploit the Indians, not only pay them less, but say rather than get 40 hours out of them, they can maybe push it to 50 or something like that. So these millions of Indians that are in the US, are they highly skilled? As in they've got skills that are so fucking over the top, so that they're so skilled, mega skilled, super skilled on steroids, that you just simply cannot get those skills anywhere in the West. Now just think about that for a minute. You go to a dirt poor basket case fucking country where you walk over dead bodies in the street, where the entire population of India wants to get the fuck out of India. You go to a place like that, and that's where the skills are. The world, the epicenter of the world's most skilled workers are there. You're right. So they're not skilled. Now, I from the outset, when Indians first started arriving in Australia, at least, and I met quite a few of them in the United States because I travelled there frequently, and none of these guys were impressive. None of them knew what they were doing, and none of them were more skilled than the local people. Not that out of a population of 1.5 billion, you won't find some very bright people. You will. There's just hardly any. There's just very few. And the ones that are bright tend to also be lazy and very entitled. So they're not inclined to do any work. They don't have to, their social status is such that even though they probably could do decent work if they applied themselves, I'm just socially too important for that. I'm a demigod. Why should I have to work? So the Indians that are coming in weren't skilled then, and certainly from the ones I've met, they're not skilled now. So this idea that it's skilled workers being brought in is bullshit. Bullshit. They're not. This is a political activity here, not a commercial one. These people these Indians are being, or they could be from Pakistan, by the way, but Bangladesh or something. But these people are being brought in for political reasons rather than I don't know, fiscal political reasons, maybe, rather than practical reasons. They're not any better than and are not as good as, in man for man, one for one, they're not as good as the Western trained ones. A lot of them, again, have got their IT qualifications simply through their social status, or they bribed the university, their families paid the lecturer or the examiner, a few $1,000 to make sure their kid's given a triple PhD or something, and that's what they wave around. But certainly all the ones that I've met who claim to have these high-powered IT qualifications do not have them. They've either got nothing close to what they claim, or they have none at all. and they can't cut a line of code to save their lives. Now, going to the other side of it, is everyone sort of sitting there, pumping out reams of kick-ass code? Well, no. Again, a lot of the jobs are sort of, I would call them IT administrative roles, project roles, where there's a whole team of people that supposedly are managing the support and tech support and projects to keep everything running, and debug programs necessary, make sure there's plenty of computers on the desks and things like that. So it's again a project admin role. There's a few sort of things that happened here, and this is important to understand. A lot of pretty much all the IT support, not all, but pretty much all the IT support and project support contracts of work are for government. Whether it's be state or federal or local. If it's like a big enough city, like New York City is a big place, and they'd be giving out some pretty big IT support project contracts. And these are typically, if not exclusively, awarded to a small select group of organisations. Again, the Price Waterhouse type size groups, and these people are also being awarded these contracts, particularly if it's government, but awarded can say, well, we'll give you this contract, but you have to bring in a fuckload of brown and black people to do the contracts. We don't want to see straight white male Christian faces here. We want, black lesbians by the truckload. And if you want this contract, that's what you're going to do. So these people then work hand in glove with the likes of the Price Waterhouse Coopers. I'm not picking on them, really mentioned as part of that group, who are then running labour hire contract rackets, of often subcontracting out to Indian subcontractors to bring Indians out. And the corruption here and the kickbacks and the under the table payments are just insane and obscene, to bring as many Indians as they can as possible. As long as they're not white, nobody cares. They could bring in Russian programs. No. If they're not brown and black, we don't want to fucking know. So they're bringing in these people in vast numbers, again in the millions, and through all this sort of labour hire and project work. Now, in the government projects, these tend to just be renewed each year based on a sign off. Like they're administratively signed off. There's no vote on the floor of the local House of Representatives or Senate or something like that. They're just signed off by the city manager or the local administrative management, and it just goes on, rolls on and on and on. No one's really watching these, no real audit off by the city manager or the local administrative management, and it just goes on, rolls on and on and on. No one's really watching these, no real auditing. There's no, are we getting efficiency here? Are we getting a bang for a buck? So they can front end load all these project teams with a shitload of brown and black people, which they do. And these people are there now they'll have a handful of white folks to do the serious stuff, but the rest of them are there just really to fill up the desks and make it look good, and appearances and the visuals and the optics of look at it. This whole project team, not one white person. Hey, whoa, diversity, inclusion. So these jobs are being willfully and deliberately lost because governments are insisting that we'll give you this big IT services contract, but no white people. Okay, that's the deal. And so with these contracts in particular, I've gone in and looked at contracts in government agencies and that sort of thing on this IT support type stuff. And you're lucky to see any white faces until you get to some pretty senior supervisory roles. And they're the guys that have to solve the real problems when they come along. They're straight white males, but the rest of them are just a gaggle of hangers-on of Ramesh and all these people are there, and they don't really do anything, and they're not audited for performance, and there's way more people than are really needed. And in order to get as many brown and black people shoved into the portal as they can, it's almost mandatory that they have to reduce the amount they pay them. just so they can bring in shitloads of these people that shouldn't even be here in the first place. So what's not happening is that they're not now. Some of this is quite well known, but I wanted to go into the mechanics of just how it plays out in the real world. And again, most of the IT work that the Indians are being brought into isn't the kick-ass top of the town, computer coding. It's in this project support, IT support, services support work. And again, it's through a conduit of labour hire and corrupt immigration agents in India. And by the way, India is the whole place exists on corruption, dirt poor, shithole basket case it is. Corruption is, they don't know how to do anything unless they're making a corrupt payment on something. Which applies to the IT people from India coming to the West. They've all had to pay a bribe to somebody to get there. None of them are there on any form of merit or organic process. None of them. So anyway, having a look at that. So what can Western STEM IT in this case graduates do? Well, they're not in a good place. They can accept a lower pay, but again, employers are reluctant even to hire the good quality white folks on lower pay on the basis that they'll leave as soon as they get a better job, whereas the Indian can't. Similarly, a lot of the people who are put in sort of mid-level charge of the project operations are other Indians who are often, if not always, receiving corrupt payments from all the people, the other Indians that are working there. So that, this should be clamped down on very hard. That's not how we do business in the West. If you want to behave corruptly with the secret payments under the tables and baksheesh, as the Indians call it, well, fuck off back to India, for goodness sakes. So political lobbying is what you can do. I think politically, write your congressman, write your politician, write your local member of the House of Representatives, all this sort of stuff. And, say, hey, you got to clamp down on this. If these people are genuinely better, held to a fully independent, merit-based standard, then, okay, understood. But otherwise, you have to pay the government, I think, should be saying that not only new incoming H-1B graduates, it's 100,000 a year, but existing ones, maybe give them 6 months grace from now. But after that, it's $100,000 a year if you stay. Because all of these Indians, they're not talented. They weren't brought in because they are skilled. They're brought in because they're lower wage, controllable, and because of this maniacal desire in the West, all Western governments, to bring in as many brown and black people as they can and use those people to replace jobs that white people would otherwise have had, local STEM graduates. So it's political activism. When I say political activism, I don't mean running up and around the street waving placards or something, but write your congressman, form groups of people online and lobby your political representatives. If you're in the United States, lobby the president, for goodness sakes. You've got the ear of the president. You've got the ear of the president. Lobby the president and say, hey, until there's the majority of these jobs are local graduates, and the decided majority of these are local graduates, the problem hasn't been dealt with or fixed or addressed. And coming back to the government contracts, and we look at the how US aid money and so on was pissed away in all directions. Money is being spent not on the technical support of government IT systems, but primarily it's a conduit to bring in brown and black people, in these sort of jobs to the West. If you look at a project where there's 200 Indians, working on the project, you could employ 50 or 60 white people to do the same job. Local graduates in say the United States or any Western country. The many millions of Indians that are employed inefficiently, and your tax dollars are paying for this charade of bringing in supposedly skilled workers. Now, my view is if on an independent merit-based basis, the Indian worker can prove that they are highly skilled, highly skilled, and that level of skill is very rare in the United States, then okay, welcome them in, fine. But you're looking at a handful of people each year. You'd be looking at a couple of thousand max each year. And that would be it. And at those sort of numbers and meritoriously determined skilled people, then that's fine. but not the millions that are coming in, because they're not even minimally skilled. Most high school kids who've done coding at high school in the West could easily surpass in quality, attitude, work ethic, and just the fact that they don't come from a corrupt basket case shithole. Just that alone gives them, I think, a decided edge over these third world parasites. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.